I wanna say all night. With you, give you all my time, just to make you mine. There's a reason why you make me so much better. You make me so much better. You make me so much I wanna say all night. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening.
Hi, Binoli.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your time. Ananya, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. So I was wondering, we'll start since we are already 7 minutes and people are tuning in.
Okay.
If you're okay.
A big hello to everyone on here today. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Binoli, and for being so kind right from the start. I'm sorry I couldn't be that person, but I'm glad that we could make this happen. Thank you.
I know. We're finally here, so it doesn't really matter. We've moved to a hybrid world in any case since last 2 years. So, great, Ananya. Thank you so much for doing this and taking the time and speaking with us. And
Pleasure.
great. So I'm gonna start by saying good evening, welcome everybody. I request everyone to put their Zooms on mute so that we can hear Ananya well. Madhuraj, you'll have to put yourself on mute. So I'm sure a lot of us know of Ananya a bit, but I would still like to give my version, what I think of Ananya and who she is. And then it is actually an honor to have her actually speak with us and taking her time out. So Ananya is from India's oldest and the foremost respectable business families. The Birlas were basically a part of the freedom struggle. Also, one could even say that they helped finance independence movement. Ananya is the sixth generation of Birla. She imbibes the family values, business acumen, and of course has a passion of taking a path which is less traveled. And she's charting her own territory, her own success, and adding that legacy to the family. The successful business person, artist, Ananya dons many hats. She rarely speaks about it though. But I'm excited today to talk about all these things and even more, and perhaps a few things which not known to the world. Maybe she's a chess champion, or maybe she played football at the Fulham Football Club when she was at Oxford. Maybe it's all her heart things, or maybe she uses all mind when it comes to business. What does she do in her time? Like, how does she get motivated? And is she going to take a befitted crown of Family Harris? I want to know so much, and I have so many questions. And this is my pinch me moment for sure. What an honor. Ananya Birla, welcome to LBS family. Wait a minute. You're already a family because your father went to LBS. So we have a special connect with you and welcome. And I can't wait for everyone to know you a bit. I've known your journey. I've followed you so much. So I feel that I know a little bit of you, but I can't wait for everyone to immerse into the world of Ananya Birla. Thank you.
That's very kind. That was a very, very kind introduction. Thank you, Binoli, for being so kind to me. It's a really, truly, it's a pleasure to be here. Like you mentioned, my dad, did his MBA at LBS, and he speaks so highly of his experience at LBS and how much he grew there as a human and how much he learned. So, for nothing else, just that in itself, when you reached out to me, was a big deal for me. And of course, talking to all you lovely people, there's a lot that we have in common. and we don't even realize it. We may be from very different backgrounds, we may be having very different career paths, different experiences, but we share a lot in common. So it's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I'm ready. So I'm ready for this chat, and I'm excited.
Great. And then I'm going to start asking a very
Go
personal
for it.
question.
Okay.
I come from a business family, so I understand that how organic it is to actually join a business family, sorry, business of your father. But it takes something else. It takes a different grit and determination to actually have your own identity and follow your own path. So, what really motivates you to do that?
Yeah, from a very young age itself, I felt, and this is something that I've worked on a lot in therapy. Uh, I felt a lot of guilt for being born where I'm born. The income gap where in India is huge. There's so much opulence, and then you drive out, and there's so much poverty. And I've always wondered, why am I given this position, whereas another girl out there same age as me has literally doesn't have any food. And I think that's the seed that really motivates me to give back, whether that is in the form of my art, whether that is in the form of the businesses that I've that I've built and I'm building. But it's almost like I need to prove to myself that I'm worth it. And my dad is very kind, and I've learned so much from him. I continue to learn from him. I have begun to introduce myself to various businesses of the Ananya Birla group. But having now 10 years of experience of being an entrepreneur in my own right has 100% helped me conduct myself in a room full of experienced professionals, which I think I would not have had if I had just joined my dad's business with zero experience. So now I can stand in a boardroom with men, mostly men, unfortunately, in their late 40s, early 50s, and hold a conversation. And they respect me, and I respect them, and there's mutual respect, not just because they don't look at me like I'm my dad's daughter, but they look at me because I am an entrepreneur in my own right. And I'm so glad that I chose the path that I chose, even though it really didn't make sense to many people. And even I questioned it a lot myself. Why am I making it harder for myself when I have it, when it's given to me on a platter? Is it an opportunity that I'm just wasting? Am I not taking advantage of a situation? But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I also, of course, I haven't seen any sort of financial struggle in my life, and I'll never ever say that I have. But having done it myself without getting introduced to my dad's business immediately, 100% makes me value what I have more, and also makes me way more ambitious. So because I sort of know in my own way what it has taken for Swatantra, my fintech company, to touch now $1.5 billion GLP. So it's not just it's taken a lot of sweat and blood. And now when I look at my dad, I see, I understand him more, because I have, our struggles have been very different, and he's struggled way more than I have, and he's way more experienced and way more intelligent, and all of those things. But I can just stand in front of him as a business person, not just his daughter. And that, I think, happened because I chose to take my own career, build my own career in the business field, apart from, of course, music, which I would have had to do by myself because I'm the only person in this family in the entertainment space. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. And long way to go, but I think it's been a interesting start.
Of course, it's been commendable, and you inspire all of us, no matter where we come from, what we're
Thank you.
doing. So that's incredible. And you mentioned about, your dad a lot. So I want to actually remind you that I recently watched a video while I was doing the research for this interview, and I watched his interview with Simi Garewal perhaps 25 years ago, and you must be like 2, 3 years old back then. So I want to take you
It's
from
too.
yeah, and he said that I want my daughter to be a career woman, and that's a man with a vision. And especially when you come from India, it's a huge deal. What I want to ask is that from that to I want to take you back to the age of 17, where you started Swatantra, which means freedom in Hindi. So, what you touched upon a bit, but what really has been the most rewarding, experience growing Swatantra, because you started as a microfinance company touching the women in rural of India, and today you mentioned that it's a multi-billion-dollar company and so on and so forth. So, if you could just tell us a bit about the journey and
Yeah.
what has been the most rewarding experience from that.
At the end of the day, and this can, I don't know how to express this correctly, but at the end of the day, all of us are just stories. We come, we create something, and then we go. And we're just a story. And stories inspire me. And so client stories really inspire me. So I remember, like you said, we started as microfinance. 10,000 rupees, right? So that's, I mean, it's so funny contextually, but that's one third the cost of my gene, and that's how much it takes them to buy a cow, and to start a business, and to send their children to school, and it's incredible what. So what I say is how a micro amount can make such a macro difference. So to give you a small example, we had lent, one of my very first clients was this lady who had a small salon, and there was one chair, and she was the only salon in that village. This is in semi-urban rural India. 2 years down, now both her children are in school. She has two girls who are in school. She is supporting her husband, and she's supporting her ailing mother-in-law. 3 years down the line, she's now employed another woman, and now 10 years down the line, she has three salons.
Wow.
And this is the power of what a micro loan can do. And from now, if you switch it, so a story like this really inspires me. Now if you switch it and you think of it from Swatantra's point of view, small, well, context, it's all contextual, but 10,000 rupees all added up to create a GLP of more than a billion USD. So it's so funny how it's all so contextual, and yet every single rupee counts. And stories like this inspire me. She pushed herself, and mind you, this is a we run a full-fledged, we charge principal plus interest. It's think of it as a mini bank. It's just social collateral. We don't take physical collateral from these women. And new product lines we sort of do. Now we're sort of getting into gold loans as well. So stories like this really inspire me. Stories of determination. Stories of when people push through adversity. That's what really inspires me in my businesses. And I think the most rewarding, I think, would be when we get best places to work, and when my team says, when my team is happy, because at the end of the day, I'm nothing without them. I am my team. When my fans, that's such a horrible word to use, when my audience is happy and they're singing the lyric, that my own lyrics back to me, when someone sends me a message saying, hey, your song really made my day. Messages like those really are what push me. So yeah, stories, we're all stories, and that's what people. It's all about people, and it's all about uh, yeah, it's all about people.
That's amazing. Because I'm not sure if you've heard this concept of Ubuntu. Ubuntu in African thing is all about people. Like I'm there because of you, and so on and so forth. So I think that's just amazing. The philosophy you have, and also at the same time, it's so fulfilling to see. You can actually make a difference in people's life, and like you said that now she's doing this, and I'm really glad that you are aware of what's happening at the ground. So very seldom that happens that people at the top really know ultimately how they're affecting, their customers or investors for that matter. So that's incredible, Ananya. I want to talk about your music because your subconscious is always music, and that's what you love about. And music is very therapeutic and cathartic. And I love your songs, not because you're here, I'm saying this, but I genuinely love your song because for some reason I think that it touches the soul. So I really want to know something that, I've heard that you've publicly spoken about your mental health,
Mm.
struggle. And so I really wonder that when you're not at your best, how do you ensure that you create such beautiful lyrics and make such amazing music? Because that's really something which amazes me.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, my mental health um, is surely something that I need to stay on top of. Self-care is very important for me. Routine is very important for me. Staying busy, not to avoid, but to keep my mind occupied in something that is productive, so that my brain doesn't go all over the place thinking about really things that I shouldn't be thinking about, is very important for me. Um, I'm extremely ambitious, and I've got a very overactive mind. So I need to know when to switch it on, what to switch it on for, and when to switch it off. Um, that's very important for me. So yeah, my mental health has 100% contributed a lot to. It's inspired me, and for both for more for the creative side of things, um, but also in terms of the businesses. So, for example, the importance I have with people. I think a lot of that has been inspired because of my own struggle and suffering with my mental health. Um, so to answer your question, funnily, and I don't know funnily or not. I think it's quite relatable for many of you. If any of you all write or poetry, prose, anything, I find it easier to write something that's a little bit darker or sadder than something that's happier. I find it tough to write like a dance track, for example. Um, I can do it,
Sure.
but it may not be as fulfilling. I find it easier to write when I'm feeling down, or when I'm anxious, or when I'm in love. Um, but even in love, it's easier for me to write the layered stuff, the tougher stuff. It doesn't come naturally to me to write happy music, basically, is what I'm saying. So I'm saying I'm a very dark human being, clearly.
Oh, come on. Right.
So I think it's very important to keep writing, and I think it's habit. So now, regardless of how I'm feeling, I just write. And a very important question that I ask myself, which really helps, is in this moment, for example, how am I feeling? Not what am I thinking. How am I feeling? Because at the end of the day, it goes down, because thoughts, again, it goes back to my mental health and my experience with my mental health, and how much is happening to all of us in this world, and the pandemic, and changes, and relationships, and dynamics, and relationship with self, and how am I feeling right now? Because thoughts can be, I can keep thinking, but the point is to observe my thoughts. And then when I write from a place of observing my thoughts rather than actually jumping into my thoughts or creating thoughts, that's when magic happens.
Okay.
And that's even when I'm playing the drums. And that's why, for example, I find playing the drums or playing the santoor so therapeutic, because I'm in a, I'm in a, I'm in a state of being, not doing or knowing. It doesn't matter what I'm thinking, what am I feeling right now, and just being in that feeling. So, regardless of how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, I think I've just made it a habit to write, to answer your question. But it takes time. It takes time. Um, Especially when you're like highly strung or highly panicky or highly anxious, you really just want to shut the world out. But I've found verbalizing to be easier, and now it's just become habit.
I think When I'm Alone was your song, which actually talked about your mental health, if I'm not wrong. And because I really get amazed that how much society is so ignorant about mental health. And what is so inspiring, Ananya, that you actually were brave enough. No, the family you come from, you still took a stance to go out, talk about this, so that you can actually give a voice to another people. But not only that, you also started Empower with your mother. And during the pandemic, you also started Ananya Birla Foundation. So can you please talk about that and what you exactly do with both these ventures?
Sure. I think the aim with both of them is, well, non-profit. That's the legal side of things, is to make the world a kinder place and to make the world a more accepting place, to live and let live, um, breaking stigmas, and to promote a more equal world. I think equality is something that's very close to my heart, and equality in all sorts of things. So, like I said, growing up, the income gap, right? Look, at the end of the day, we all have the same blood. We're all born. We all die. We all have to face mortality. It's, that's what we're all about. Now it's about making our time here fun and enjoyable and making a difference, and we all have our own purposes, and so the goal for both Empower is more mental health oriented. So we have therapists and psychiatrists, we have a center, we have different sorts of therapies: art therapy, pet therapy, music therapy. We have a 24/7 completely anonymous free helpline where you can call all over pan India and talk to a certified therapist on the other side. What we've noticed is, I'm not privy to any of the calls, it's completely confidential, but just in terms of data, 65 to 70% of callers are male, which goes back to stereotypes and how we tell men that they have to be strong, and if you cry or if you express yourself, it's a form of weakness. And this goes back to equality. So it's not just about fighting for women, but it's also fighting for men. Um, that's what we do at Empower. We're also working. My mom's actually working very closely with the police, for women who are taken advantage of, and things like that. At ABF, at Ananya Birla Foundation, it's more of a holistic approach that we're taking. So, in any way, if we can reduce suffering, that's what we do. So we just fed about 200,000 street children. We're funding acid survivor surgeries, one a month. This is in an organization in Calcutta. We are conducting a pan India research of where mental health stands in rural India, because people don't even know what depression is. Their vocabulary doesn't move beyond stress. So there's a lot of stuff, different things going on. But to answer your question, the overarching vision and idea is to make the world, to contribute to making the world a little bit of a kinder and more equal place, so that we can all live less like camels. And when I say camel, I mean, we all are camels. Like, what are my parents gonna say? What's society gonna say? What is, we're all carrying so much of burden for what? We have to let it go. We have to live freely. Life is too short. And that's basically what the goal is. Yeah.
That's amazing. Ananya, we at LPS, we have a huge international community, and most of us come from different parts of the world. And then, basically after the masters, we want to start afresh. And it's been really difficult at times because, in a
Yeah.
capitalist world and competition, and I could be a star back in India, but then here I'm starting out afresh and knocking every door. And it's been my personal, last few months have been sort of figuring out, how to sort of navigate myself. And I wonder that you also had to face that when you took your music global, because you were a star in India, people knew you, who you are. But when you decided to go global, to the studios in London and LA, did you have to face any difficulties? If you could maybe talk about that.
Yeah, totally. So, firstly, none of you are alone at all in any of your difficulties. I think that's number one, and that's what I tell myself as well. So, this is me telling myself, none of us are alone in any way. Um, we may experience things differently, but the emotion is very similar, and that's why music is such a universal language, because it evokes the same emotion, but we've just experienced it in different ways. Your heartbreak, for example, may not have been the same as my heartbreak, but we both still feel heartbreak, and that's the beauty of being human, is we're never alone. um, but sorry, so that was just the first part, just to say that, none of you are alone. um, of course, 100%. Funnily, actually, when I sort of dropped my debut single in India, people didn't take me seriously at all because of my background, and they wrote immediately. They wrote me off. I remember a very big publication wrote me off immediately just because of the money that my dad had. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know the last time my dad's money ever went into studio for hours and hours at end, or did vocal training, or wrote a song from their heart, from its heart. It has nothing to do with my privilege. um, but it was very important for me to take a step back, to not get bitter about it, to try to understand that everyone may not understand, and I may have gotten it easier than someone else, maybe, who knows. So it's better to give the world benefit of the doubt, because it took a lot of pressure off my shoulder. And then I went back in the studio, and that's when I wrote Meant to Be, and that's when that song went platinum in India. And then we made history, because no Indian artist had ever gone platinum with an English song in India ever before. And that really opened the scene for independent music and musicians in India. And I think now people, now I'm in a position where I'm getting to collaborate with amazing artists in India and abroad. People are taking me very seriously as an artist, but it's been a journey, because the first thing that people saw was, oh, she's a billionaire. That's it. That's They didn't see beyond that, and it took a lot of, hey, like, there's a human. Like, can you listen to the song and see what I've written, maybe? Um, and absolutely, dislike the music you have, but at least give the human a chance beyond just the money. So that took a while, but I think it reached a point where hit after hit after hit after hit, people didn't have a choice but
Take this.
to give me a chance. And I'm so grateful. And there have been certain people who have stood by me since day one. um, so it's been funny, because in India that's been the struggle, whereas abroad it's like I've been a newcomer since the beginning, and now I've created a name. So it was funnily a little bit easier abroad,
Really?
um, because they just saw an Indian girl, and they see so much. It's almost like how K-pop was so big. It's sort of like I-pop, but in a different way. And it's I'm super proud to be brown, and it's very interesting how the world works. It's super interesting. Um, so in answer to your question, I think it was the reverse. It was tougher in India, because
Wow.
I had to rewrite the story. So we still have to on the daily.
100%.
It's also a lot about how I view myself, really. But internationally, I could write my own story the way I wanted to, because no one knew anything. And I'm very lucky and privileged that I was able to do that and experience both sides.
That's awesome. And you were the first Indian to be signed by Maverick. That was so incredible, which actually manages artists like Madonna. So I can't wait for your first Grammy, and I'll be cheering. Ananya, in the digital
Thank
age, where everyone actually assumes a lot from the snippets of the videos or the pictures you post,
you.
how do you stay real, or how would one uh, you know uh, basically manages success or failure, because you're completely in public
Yeah,
gaze most of the time, so how do you handle the success or the failure at the same time?
it's a great question, and I think this is something my parents have taught me. Success and failure are like two sides of the same coin, and you can't take either seriously at all, because a song can be a hit today, and then the next song I drop can be a flop, and then I can just be written off, and then after that I can have another hit, and then after that I can have another flop, and then a business can be doing really well one quarter, and then a business can not be doing well. So it cannot be taken seriously. That's rule number one, and that is something that I've gotten quite good at. Is I tend to not get overly excited or overly disappointed. Um, Having said that, we are all human, and it is tough. It is really tough. There's no denying it. It is, and the funny thing is that the more you know about life and about like where are we, what is the universe, the less you know, is what I've learned. And the more successful you get, the lonelier it gets, is also something I've learned. So it's really important to enjoy the journey, and to enjoy the success and the failure, because there's no finish line here. There's no ending here. Like, you guys are at this amazing B school. I mean, all of y'all are super intelligent, and I know y'all are all gonna be, y'all are already successful, gonna be even more successful. And then what? What? Some of y'all may want to get married, have kids. Some of y'all may want to take a more career-driven approach, and then what? And then what? And then what? There's really no finish line here, right? So all we have is this journey, which is full of ups and downs. And so it's really, really important to just enjoy the journey and to stay in the present moment. Um, Easier said than done. Failure does hurt, no doubt. It hits the ego hard. But it's all part of life, it's all part of it.
What would you advise your 18 years old self?
Great question. Um, I would tell myself to that rest is also very productive. That you have to rest. I would say, Ananya, rest. Please don't work so hard, because I had a really bad burnout about a year ago. Terrible burnout. Less than a year ago. And that's because since 17, since 16, I've just been at it. And at 26, after 10 years, I hit this point where my body was like, my mind was like, oh my God, I love what I do, but I just have zero motivation. What is going on? And I was having a massive burnout because I've been working 18 hours a day non-stop. I don't remember the last time I took just a holiday. I may have gone somewhere for a conference, for example, and taken half a day off. Um, and so I had to, I would tell myself, please rest a bit more, because rest is being productive. Spend more time with your friends and family, and have more fun in life. Be more carefree, have more fun, because at the end of the day, that's all that's going to matter. Try to not care so much about what people think and what people say, and love yourself a bit more. Look in the mirror sometimes and praise yourself. Uh, I would give myself a hug.
Oh,
It's so cool when you listen to her.
Ananya,
Ananya Birla, but not her. Like,
who is,
where
sorry,
is she gone?
I'm just gonna mute him. Ananya, what
Mm.
do you think is, really in last 10 years of your work experience, what do you think has been your success mantra, or what do you think really worked for you? And if you have any wisdom to share with all of us.
I mean, on the technical side of things, you all are experts. So, the importance of planning, the importance of having a solid um, idea that's sustainable, profitable, um, expandable. Having you know the importance of demand and supply, and creating, there's a huge opportunity. I think in my businesses, what I've really, I think has just happened is trying to organize an unorganized space is what I think I've done in my businesses so far. So whether that is with Swatantra, whether that was Ikai Asai and Handmade in India, and then of course making it more contemporary with design. That's what sort of Uber did as well, right? I mean, it was they sort of finding an equilibrium with bringing in drivers and sort of employment. It's the way you want to see it. Um, but I think that's basically what I found some sort of success in. And how do I organize a really unorganized market, which has a lot of potential if it's organized? Um, and so on the technical side, I mean, there are many things. How important people are is something that I cannot, expand. I can go on and on about the importance of people and how I sit on every single interview before I recruit someone, how it's not an interview, but if it's more of a conversation. Um, but putting all of that aside, I think regardless of what anyone does, regardless of career, it's really important to know your why. So not the what and the how, because that we can figure out, but why am I doing what I'm doing? Because when times get tough is when we need that extra push, that self motivation. And if that why is really clear, I think it really pushes us through a lot of tough times. So why do I want to be on stage tomorrow? Why do I want to start this business? Why do I want to, that why is really important. And knowing that why is really important, because that's what will make you motivate yourself. And self motivation is super important for anything and everything, because no one else is going to pull you out of anything. You have to pull yourself out of everything in life. And that's just the truth. There will be people who support you, you'll have your team, your family, your friends. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to get out of bed one day and you have no motivation, no one can literally drag you out of bed. No one can make you do anything. So, really knowing why you want to do something and having a very strong why is very important, in my opinion. And that's what's really helped me through the little success I have.
You've achieved so much at such an early age. So what's next for Ananya Birla? Any new other collaboration with any international artist, or joining politics, or writing book, or I mean, because you do such amazing stuff in various facets. So I'm just curious to know.
So a book is something that's my music started with poetry, and so poetry is something that I'm working on. I am taking my time with it though, because I really want to make sure that it comes from the right place. But that's sort of at, I would say, 75% mark. Um, New music. My next track is a Hindi Punjabi song. I'm very excited about that. After which, there's a big collaboration coming for me, and then my English music starts dropping, which I'm super excited about. Working on a new business idea, which I'm very, very kicked about. Um, Kicked being the pun. I'm very excited about that one. It's something I'm very personally passionate about. Um, and yeah, I'm really, really honing into my own skills and self love and this journey. Like I sort of, spoke to you about. There's really no flying here, and and I know myself. I'll always want more. I think that's how human beings are. We always want to achieve more. So really taking a step back and appreciating where we all have reached so far, and I think we've all overcome this pandemic, and that in itself, we must give ourselves hugs and congratulate ourselves for having reached this far. Um, so yeah, I hope to. My personal goal is, the professional stuff will continue happening, and hopefully it'll succeed at some level and it'll create an impact. But I hope to continue waking up every morning and becoming a better person, loving myself a bit more, loving the people around me a little bit more, understanding life a bit more. Um, just being a better human being and giving out unconditional love.
You do. Your vibe actually reaches to each one of us. So, Ananya, I have still many questions, but I'm still going to open up the floor. I'm sure people who are watching you have questions. So, I would request everyone to raise your hands in the chat, and then I can invite people. Okay. So, Rahul, can you
I
unmute yourself?
apologize. I really apologize for this horrible Ferrari mug. I'm just drinking my chai. It's I
That's
just
Rahul, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Ananya. It's
Hi
such a pleasure
Rahul, how are
to thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to listen to your thoughts and your vision. Truly inspiring. So I had two questions. One was, is there something that you plan to do with your love for music and India having such rich and underrepresented an entire sector of like folk music and its practitioners, and there's no platform for that So something, on that front. And the second one is more of a personal question. Who's a better drummer between John Bonham and Neil Peart? Thank you.
Woo. So, um, second part of the question, I think they both are very, very good, and they're good at different things. And I'm not even 1,000th there, so I don't think I can give an opinion on that. To answer the first half of your question, what was it again? Sorry, I'm blanking. Yes, yes. I think, and this is something that I've been working on with my team, is starting sort of a co-label. So, being so it's almost like Ananya Birla X, a label, a distribution partner, and really focusing on, like you said, Indian music and folk music and our beautiful Rajasthani music, or whatever it may be. We've got some beautiful things happening. So collaborating or some sort of a JV with an already existing partner that specializes in distribution all around the world, and we sort of bring in that India element is, I think, one way to sort of uh, do what you're saying, and it's a great idea when we must empower, encourage, and promote our Indian music. So I hope that answers your question. In my English stuff, you will hear a little bit more of an Indian influence in the production of my new music, which drops from July onwards. So hopefully I can contribute a little bit to my own roots as well. But yeah, both great questions, and I don't have an answer for you for the second half of your question. They both are great in their own ways.
Thank you so much, Ananya.
Cool, Varsha, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Binoli. Hi, Ananya. Love how human and real you've come across, and it's been a privilege to listen to you. My question is actually more about the microfinance space that you operate in, right, in India, where I've been a banker. So I do understand there's a certain peculiarity about this book where there's no delinquency whatsoever. I mean, the delinquency rates are far lesser, in the microfinance book, especially when you're lending to women. Have you noticed that as well? And what do you think
Yeah,
is
so
probably something that's, unique to it?
absolutely. And this was something that I did very initially. We have this thing called social collateral. So what I realized was these women in rural India, they care a lot more about what other people think or about being a part of larger society than losing a bike, for example. Their social status is very, very important for them. So what we do, and I think a lot of other microfinance organizations sort of adopted that as well, is we've created social collateral. So let's say we put 10 women together, and if one woman fails to repay, then the other 9 have to chip in for her. So that sort of puts social pressure on that woman. And it's basically social collateral. So just think of it instead of physical collateral, it's social collateral. And this is a huge element of why this is a huge reason, huge function of why the delinquency rate is so much lower. Also, these women, uh, I think they are way more emotionally intelligent than we realize, and they understand that microfinance organizations are providing them with something that a usual bank is not providing. So there is a sort of gratitude that they feel, and an ownership that they feel to repay this loan with interest. So even though they're paying interest, there's a part of them that still feels like, oh, but this company or this person is doing something for me that's out of the ordinary, even though in my opinion it's not. So there are many different parts, different elements to your question. I hope I've been able to answer
No,
with these.
absolutely. I mean, I think the fact that they're in the fringes and they feel included in the financial system, I think that only brings in a lot more
Exactly.
integrity as well. Yeah,
So
I
I
agree.
think it's all part of financial inclusion, and I know I'm getting a little more technical here, but when it comes to financial inclusion, I think it's a lot more human, and the reasons are a lot more human, and hence the product lines have to be developed around human psychology way more than anything else for it to work. and that's why I think delinquency is so much lower, because it's a lot about the way these women think and product lines being around that and financial inclusion. Even though COVID did play a big part, still we're way better off than many organizations out there which are higher ticket sizes, with people who are in the more educated sector, higher income sector, with physical collaterals.
No,
Great
absolutely.
question.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Varsha. So Danshu, you can go next.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, Ananya.
Hi.
I have one question which makes me wonder, when you mentioned about the app that you have for people with mental health to help them out 24/7. You mentioned that 60% or more are men. See, I'm a business student myself and learning, but I mean, I'm an economist. But the point being, is it possible that women have a fear, or feel uncomfortable to come out, even if the call is what should I say, anonymous and stuff?
Anonymous.
Is that a key reason? Because you have to understand the socio-economic situation of India, and the fear to open up to strangers, what would happen next, the same things that you mentioned, the society and stuff. So that made me wonder, that is it possible that men are more bold, and that's one reason, along with the fact
Yeah, no,
worth exploring?
absolutely 100% worth exploring. It has come up in our discussions before. The funny thing is, when it comes to in person and same demography but not anonymous, there are more women than men. So that
Okay.
made us question. But so that's how we came up to the conclusion that we did come up to. But absolutely great insight, and would love to have a longer discussion with you on that. I think there are many reasons, but the fact that there were more women, it could also be that, look, men are busier in the day and can't get an appointment. So there are many things that could be involved. But I think there is a factor of men are scared, or I'm not generalizing, but it's because we put so much pressure on, and I hope it's changing. And I hope I've never put pressure on any man in my life to ever have to not express themselves, because I don't think that's a sign of strength at all. I think expressing how you feel is a sign of strength. But there is 100%, I think, an element of men feeling safer when it's anonymous, because they feel like no one will judge that they are weak in any way for expressing how they're feeling. But point totally taken, and
I would
yes.
come into the bracket, because whatever problems I had, I mean, I'm not here to discuss about it, but yes, to come out openly, it was tough. I would discuss with my therapist, with my psychiatrist, with my psychologist. But later on, when I came out, I knew that I was accepted more by people. So I
Absolutely,
do have
100%. And
comfort.
I think I look up to you for that. And I'm human to human. I'm very proud of you for doing that. You'll realize that there are many more people out there who actually understand you, men and women, than you ever thought. And the same happened with me. Like, when you talk about your emotions and your feelings, and you just sort of start attracting people who are more like-minded and who've experienced similar things. And for people who don't accept you, it's their problem. Like, why do you want them in your life in the first place, right? So I think there is absolutely no harm, and there are only positive things when you talk about how you actually feel and be who you actually are. So kudos.
Thank you. And you're right. Less people and better friendships,
Yeah,
stronger friendships are better.
totally, 100%, 100.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madhuraj, you can go next.
Yeah. Hi, Anya. Thanks for
Hi.
taking time. Hi. So my
Of course.
question is based on, you have mentioned very good aspect of social collateral, and I belongs to a typical rural area in UP, Uttar Pradesh. And we have very good presence of Birla Group also there in terms of sugar mills and cane production. So I'm working right now in London, and I volunteer for COVID. During COVID, there are different challenges came, and I see in society when men are single and when women are single due to certain natural calamities like pandemic. Okay, women are struggling a lot, especially in the rural areas, because due to social pressure they cannot go and do the work. Due to social pressure, they are not able to return their loans, and if their husband died in such pandemic, then they are not having any collateral to repay that amount, and this is indirectly causing the harassment in the society. So when your microfinancial uh, uh, solution is working on this, how do you see like utilizing any insurance or such type of methods? Because based on my experience in Scottish Widows, this is a company in Edinburgh. They are having always with one financing. They are going with the insurance. So how are you going to expand that to the more means? My question is in short, how you are going more wider, more reachable to the rural areas, and how you are providing a insurance security to them. I will be happy to help in this project because that's what I can do.
Great. No, thank you for your question. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. We work with various partners, one of them being Religare. We have health insurance, we have life insurance, but we also have a special package where we register. So how do I explain this? We register the client on our platform with our partner. So let's say she was to fall sick, all she has to do is just call a number, and there will be an ambulance who comes to pick her up, take her to the nearest hospital, do all the checkups, because she's already registered. So it's almost like a it's almost like a you pay a small monthly fee, and if anything was to ever happen, not only will we cover your costs, but we'll also make sure that you get the right help in terms of the doctors or the scans or the blood tests, or and the nearest hospital wherever you are in India. So really not just covering their cost, but actually also making sure that they reach the infrastructure or the knowledge, which is the doctor, as soon as possible if they are in an emergency case. And we also have we've tried our best to do whatever we can in the health space. The health space is a huge space, and would surely love to would love to work together and see what we can do. Also tied up with Aditya Birla Health Insurance and Aditya Birla Life Insurance, Sun Life Insurance, to do a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's so much to do. It's amazing.
Great. Thank you. We just have 2 minutes left, but I'm going to be quick in terms of inviting Kopal. If you can go ahead with the questions.
I'll be super quick. I know we're at time, but I just really wanted to say thank you to both Ananya and also Sudarshanu for sharing their stories. I think it's so important in these small communities we share our personal stories and things and break down these stigmas. So really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. You really didn't have to say that. So I really, really appreciate you doing that, because I know it came from your heart. And yeah, small gestures like that make a big difference. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Great. Laura, you want to go ahead? I know you had a raised hand, and then we can still squeeze in.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the candid conversation today. It has been a pleasure. I was wondering, you touched on so many different and relevant topics today with us. Given your own struggles with mental health and your really passion about this, and how close you are to the business world, more as an entrepreneur, but also close to large corporations, have you got a point of view of how companies can embed this as part of their culture, really? Because as leaders, we do have a duty of care. So What
Yes.
do you think would be a way forward to start changing little by little?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Number one is to, as leaders, to talk about it ourselves. So that's what I do, right? Like if I'm having a bad day, I will tell my team, hey guys, I'm having a really tough day with my anxiety today. And it's totally stigma free. Everyone is aware, which then means that if my teammate tomorrow is suffering from anxiety, he or she should be able to or feels free to say, hey, I am having a bad day with my anxiety, or I feel really depressed today, and it should be okay. So, number one is really acknowledging it. I truly deeply acknowledge it myself, and I just say it out loud. The second thing is that I've, in HR practices doing small things. So, for example, there's just the way you have sick leave. I have wellness leave for women when when we have horrible period pains, and I also have mental health mental health day leave. So we get emails all the time from people saying that today I'm really stressed out or I'm having a burnout and I need a day off. So just the way you can have a stomach ache and have a day off, a woman can be in a period and have a day off, or she can be having a really bad panic day and have a day off. So doing small things like that sort of inculcates a stigma-free environment in the culture, in the organization itself. Um, Even small things like and this is very subjective, and it depends on the leader, but I personally think that it's very important to be very comfortable at your workplace, very appropriate but comfortable. So I don't particularly um, enforce everyone has to wear formal wear. I mean, it's okay for people to wear what they feel comfortable in, because at the end of the day, your brain has to work, and you have to be nice to other people, and you have to be productive and happy at work. You have to be appropriate. So please, wear something appropriate, but be comfortable and be who you are. So if a woman doesn't want to wear a skirt or doesn't want to wear formal pants, she can wear jeans and a t-shirt if she wants to. So really, by these small changes, I think it sort of starts giving larger messages to employees' psyche that okay, my organization just wants me to be me, and they're encouraging me to sort of be okay with having a bad day, or acknowledge the fact that I'm a woman and women have period, and stuff like that. And really encouraging a stigma free world. Even, for example, we have a total, for LGBTQAIA plus the community, it's totally normal for us. So, and I know I'm ahead of the curve in India here, but for anyone who is part of the community in my organization, it's absolutely totally relaxed. I have no problem with it. And so things like that. Now, whether when it comes to color, when it comes to gender, when it comes to mental health, really promoting come as you are. All we need you to be is yourself, productive, use your mind, have a kind heart, and have fun. And the results have been amazing. People flourish, the company flourishes. So it's small messages like this which you have to give out through either a couple of policies here and there, or just opening up yourself, and you'll see a world of a difference.
Thank you so much.
Great, Ananya. I'm cognizant of the time. We can still go on, talk about you and how wonderful you are. But, I must say that when I see people around, they have much less, but they flaunt so much. And seeing you uh, with an open book and how great you are. Thank you for being with us. On behalf of London Business School, I'm very grateful for your time. And thank you for inspiring us. Keep shining and keep making us proud, being an Indian and being a fellow woman and a world citizen. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Big thank you, Binoli, for everything. Thank you for your love. Thanks for reaching out to me. Thank you for everyone who attended today. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, good luck for everything, guys. I'm cheering all of you on, fellow human to human. It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Ananya.
Thanks.
Good
Thanks.
night. See you.
Bye.
Bye.